This is Sigmund Bloom here, bringing you a contest or two you might be interested in for your fantasy football fix. You want some puzzles to solve. It is the postseason. What we love about postseason fantasy football is it's not just about fantasy football. It's about predicting who's going to go all the way to the Super Bowl. We have two contest football guys partnering with NFFC, a $50 entry to win $50,000, $200 entry to win $150,000 in the playoff hold'em contest. Few things to get straight about the format. It's 12 slots in the lineup, two quarterbacks, wide receiver and tight end are folded into one position for those, three running backs, a flex, a kicker, and a defense. And most importantly, multipliers. That's how you get to the hold'em in the hold'em contest. Each week a player is in your lineup. His value will multiply. So his scoring multiplies for each week 2 times, 3 times, 4 times if you put someone in week 1 and they go to the Super Bowl. 7 steps. Step 0, I'm cheating. Step 0 is you have to project the playoff bracket. We can't get anywhere if we don't take a stand on who's going to win each round. If you don't want to use your own prognostications, you can just use the odds, Las Vegas odds for teams' chances of making the Super Bowl. But you have to have this to make some choices. Step 1, well, there's 14 teams in the playoffs. There's 12 slots in your lineup. 2 of your slots are going to be on players that aren't playing in week 1, Detroit Lions and Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to pick your line, pick your chief for step 1. Jahmyr Gibbs, the hottest player in football right now. David Montgomery looking like he's going to be back for the divisional round. I'm not going to go away from Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, if you have Detroit going to the Super Bowl, ideally, your 2 quarterback spots are the 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Maybe you'd go with Jared Goff. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. For Kansas City, again, if you have the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is probably one of your quarterbacks. If not, the next most attractive player for fantasy, Xavier Worthy. I'm going to go with Worthy. So I have Gibbs in one of my running back spots and a wide receiver spot for Worthy. Let's move on to step 2. We're going to pick the 2 teams we're going to eliminate. I think the simplest way to go with this Vegas lines, there's 2 big underdogs, Denver and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's offense has been blah. I say that as a Steelers fan, lifelong Western Pennsylvania, born and bred. Denver, playing in some cold and snow, maybe there could still be some offensive value there, but you have the likelihood of the teams not advancing, the likelihood of a poor offensive day. We're not going to put anybody in my lineup, at least, from the Broncos and the Steelers. Step 2, we're going to pick our quarterbacks. Now, you might only have 1. Maybe you'd even have 0 if Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes are your picks. If you have a Detroit Kansas City Super Bowl, I don't have either of those teams, or at least I may have the Lions in the Super Bowl, but I'm not going away from Jahmyr Gibbs right now. So my quarterbacks, well, who are the quarterbacks I expect to go to the Super Bowl? At least on the AFC side, I've got that as Josh Allen. And you want to have alignment, if possible, between the best fantasy asset, that's Josh Allen, among the quarterbacks. And I'm picking Buffalo over Baltimore in the divisional round. Not going to see the Steelers pulling off an upset there. And then on the NFC side, since I went with Jahmyr Gibbs, again, you have alignment here. I expect the Eagles to play 3, if not 4 games. Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol, or at least was in week 18, returning to practice. I think we're going to be all right. You might want to check on that. Although spots are going fast in these, so we can't necessarily wait too long. But I think we're getting some good news on Jalen Hurts as we record this. Step 2, my quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Now we move on to step 4, running backs. I've already got 1 slotted in there with Jahmyr Gibbs. And the easiest way to approach these positions is let's start with the options that are in the playoffs that we know are the elite fantasy options. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, James Cook. Maybe now we're not too elite, but still strong options. Kyren Williams, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon. Ideally, you want a player that's going to play at least 2 games, if not 3, with a shot at 4. And we're also eliminating players from the teams we've already chosen. Saquon Barkley, out. James Cook, out. Derrick Henry, in. Kyren Williams, Bucky Irving. This is a tough choice. We also have, you can look ahead, that we're going to look at Puka Nacua and Mike Evans. But really, I look at these 2 teams both projected to win. Probably, I think Bucky Irving has a little bit more upside, a little bit more tread left on the tires. Kyren Williams has been worked pretty hard. Tampa Bay, I do think, also has higher scoring potential. We have a really good Minnesota run defense with a healthy linebacker core. So Bucky Irving is going to be in there. My running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving. Josh Jacobs, I expect to be one and done. And Joe Mixon, I have the Chargers favored over the Texans. We'll get to another spot. Remember, Nico Collins, also a Texans consideration. So we're also looking at, when we fill in a slot, who are the players that we're necessarily foregoing. So again, my running backs, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Step 5, wide receivers. I think we have a free square here with Justin Jefferson because he is the best fantasy option for the Vikings compared to his peers. Sam Darnold could be a consideration if you have Minnesota running the table and going to the Super Bowl on the back of Sam Darnold's performances. Tough to see that after how things went. In Week 18, I wonder if the Lions, Aaron Glenn, probably a head coach here very soon, going to show the league, starting with the Rams, how to fluster Sam Darnold, find that Achilles heel. So Justin Jefferson, I think, is an easy pick as wide receiver number 2 for me. Remember, Xavier Worthy, my pick for wide receiver number 1, because maybe it's wishful thinking. Sorry, Chiefs fans. I do not have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl. Who are some of the other options? Again, much like the running backs, we're going to look at the top potential options at wide receiver. Mike Evans, well, he's out because we took Bucky Irving. A.J. Brown, he's out because we took Jalen Hurts. Puka Nacua, again, talked about the combination of Kyron Williams going against a tough run defense. Puka Nacua, unstoppable. Puka Nacua is my 3rd wide receiver. Who's left? Terry McLaurin, Nico Collins. It's a really Green Bay wide receiver. Ladd McConkey. So out of Collins, McConkey, and McLaurin, we can probably eliminate who we think is least likely to win. For me, that would be Terry McLaurin. So now we're down to Collins and McConkey. And spoiler alert, there's still a flex spot left. So while this might seem like a difficult choice on its face, we're really not going to have to make the choice unless there's a running back we like better. We'll get to that. But let's go ahead and put in Nico Collins. Chargers, Texans feels like a coin flip. Let's go ahead and put in Nico Collins just because he has such a high ceiling with CJ Stroud not having very many other guys to throw to in that offense. Now we move on to our flex. Flex should be easy. Step 6. Flex should be pretty easy because now we're down to 4 teams, or 3 teams, the Chargers, Washington, and Green Bay. Remember, we've already decided that we're not going to take any Broncos or any Steelers. So Washington, again, we already eliminated Terry McLaurin. He would be the pick of the best wide receiver running back there. But picking Tampa over Washington in my bracket, he's out. Josh Jacobs is interesting. However, with the possibility of Green Bay falling behind early to the Eagles, I think that is a potential landmine. We're going to go here with Ladd McConkey, especially because could easily see the Chargers advancing. Ladd McConkey, that clear number 1 receiver, playing lights out right now. So we have our flex. We have our 4 wide receivers, Worthy, Jefferson, Nacua, and Collins. And now our flex, Ladd McConkey. We move on to step 7. Well, we didn't save the best for last. We save maybe the easiest for last. This one shouldn't cause you to sweat at all. Basically, you have just Washington and Green Bay left. You're going to put 1 in your defense and 1 in your kicker. I'm going to go with Washington as my defense just because of the 2 quarterbacks here, the opposing quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's the one that's a little more turnover prone, not injury prone. And that is a reason to go with Washington. Green Bay will go with their kicker, Brandon McManus. And again, let's go over that lineup. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Justin Jefferson, Xavier Worthy, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Brandon McManus, and Washington. And we're going to have at least 4 players to swap out because 4 of those players are going to lose. In the Hold'em contest in week 2, you could have 2 players from each team if you want. So we're probably going to be loading up with a Kansas City player, Detroit player, and 2 more players from teams that we expect to advance to the conference championship. And week 3, we'll do the same. 3 players, week 4, Super Bowl. You can have up to 4 players, and hopefully you've got the multipliers, the 4 times multiplier, the 3 times multiplier, the 2 times multiplier locked in with those best players. So go forth, prosper, win, Enjoy the playoffs even more, if possible, with Football Guys and NFFC partnering for the Playoff Hold'em contest. We try to deliver the best for you at Football Guys, always, because you are so very classy.